Section86.com. We're changing the world of podcasting one show at a time.
86 Productions.
Take what you wanna take. Don't leave me here. Lasting leap years ever your fear of the one and only love.
Hello and welcome to Off the Mark, the best podcast for the most in-depth insight and analysis into the world of professional wrestling. On today's show, we have Aaron, Roger, and Doug to join Andrew as we discuss this month's view from the turnbuckle. So, AP, Eric Bischoff is no longer with the WWE. Now, why is that?
They did not go into specifics, but essentially Eric Bischoff was brought in to run SmackDown. Paul Heyman was brought in to run Raw. And apparently Bischoff was not doing what Vince wanted. Apparently Bischoff wanted specific things to be going on for SmackDown. And Vince McMahon saw things very differently. And so after, I think it was 2 episodes of SmackDown on Fox, they decided to part ways. And so, which is very unfortunate because Eric Bischoff was employed by them for about 5 months, I want to say. And, you know, he moved his entire family. I mean, him and his wife moved out to Connecticut from Wyoming. And now they got to make that trek back, back to Wyoming. So it's unfortunate. And I understand why it happened, but I think that it's also a little short-sighted of Vince to do because, you know, Bischoff was essentially brought in to be a fall guy. And I think that Bischoff has a little bit more talent than that they could have utilized.
And Doug, what did you think about the move just to let him go? Like, did you think that he was basically like a scapegoat? So if the ratings were falling in Fox, they would just, say, oh, it's Eric's fault, so we're going to get rid of him.
Yep, that's exactly it. I think he just got hired just to come in and be like, all right, well, we're not really going to change anything, but we need somebody to take the blame. And so they got Bischoff, which, you know what? If I was Bischoff, I'd take that deal. Go ahead and pay me for what you said. He worked for 5 months there, and you only got to run 2 shows.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, well, there were 2 shows on Fox that we should say. I mean, prior to that, he probably either ran those or he was involved in those heavily. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure he got paid a very hefty sum. You know, he had said previously that he wasn't really interested in going back to wrestling. And I imagine that WWE probably backed up a lot of money. I mean, they have a lot of money they can throw around right now. So it's probably substantial enough for him to make that investment in order to go out to Stanford.
Right.
That's a crazy business world of wrestling, as we all know. So, speaking of something that's crazy, NXT invaded WWE. Now, this is the weird part. They actually invaded them because certain wrestlers were not able to make it back from Saudi Arabia because of, in quotes, mechanical problems with, I think it was Atlas Air, if I'm correct. So, yeah, that happened. But, Doug, do you think that actually this benefited SmackDown afterwards?
I definitely did. I thought the show was one of the most exciting shows that they've had in a long time. Although I watched it live and the pacing was actually kind of bad. You could definitely tell they were running on a skeleton crew of wrestlers and prolonging things and showing full matches from Crown Jewel on SmackDown. But it was definitely interesting. It was definitely a must watch. And I'm glad that it showed in the ratings too, that a lot of people enjoyed it and watched it. And I'd be interesting to see what the ratings were from last Thursday when they weren't there. But at the overall, I think it gives a nice little kick to the upcoming pay-per-view of Survivor Series and gives a new perspective on things and where they're going with the WWE.
Yeah, and the show was way better than the previous week. It was on FS1 because the World Series was going on. And so that SmackDown did very poorly. I think that one was under 1 million. It was like 700,000 views, I want to say. It was crazy bad, that SmackDown was. But this one, where they had the NXT folks on, so good. I mean, it was way better. And the fact that you saw that big jump in the ratings, one, obviously it was on a different network, so you can explain that very easily. But I think the other two, the second thing is, like Doug had said, that what's going to happen here? Like, what is going on? It felt very spontaneous. It felt like anything could happen. And I almost feel like having way less people was a benefit for them, because if you don't have like, oh yeah, just throw Roman Reigns out there for right now, just do a segment with, The Fiend. They can do essentially anything they want. But with this, it's like, okay, they had to be very specific on how they planned everything out. And like Doug said, it ran a little long at times, but they were a little bit more cognizant of it. Now, with that said, I think that, Andy, you probably would be in agreement with this. Do you think it was pretty dumb to run a pay-per-view on Thursday on the other side of the world?
I completely agree with that. That was one of the not that I won't say it's the dumbest thing, but it was not a smart thing to run. You don't have a pay-per-view on a Thursday. Now, if it was Thursday afternoon in the United States, I get it. But you can't do it Thursday and then still have, a 12-hour flight or more before people are able to come back? Yeah, that's dumb. I see what some of the reasoning behind it, but also at the same time, it's like, well, like when you think of like, we don't have air problems or we don't have flight issues. Well, you did, because NXT people were scrambling. They're like, oh, we need to fly all these people to Buffalo from Orlando, which, Orlando, everyone flies from Orlando. So it just, to me, I guess it was, okay, that was the backup plan. But I think that also they could have grabbed more wrestlers and I should specify this. They should have chartered a complete jet from there and back with the money that they get. They could afford to do that. Then they can leave whenever they want. There's no time schedule. And this one had mechanical problems, or you could have done 2 different flights just in case, where you had the early crew and then the late crew. But no, they didn't do that. So
well, it's kind of shocking to me that you would do that why not do it on a Saturday, or why not do it on a Friday with the people that wouldn't be on SmackDown? That's the thing that I don't quite understand. I know a lot of money's being thrown at you, but if there's even that risk there where you could have, like, let's just say, like, let's take them out there where it was a mechanical issue. If you're planning for this, the risk that's involved is incredibly high. And if it wasn't Survivor Series, let's say it was, right, because they do it right after WrestleMania, right? They do it in April is when the other one is. So if, let's say this was April and this happened, they did it on a Thursday, and then Friday, guess what? They don't have anyone from SmackDown there except for women. They don't have, they could do NXT, but what's the point? The NXT people coming in makes sense because they have the invasion angle. But, I don't understand who thought that this was going to be a good idea. That's my thing.
Oh, apparently they did. Because it happened, but yeah.
Well, one of the best things I think that we're missing also is the commentary by Pat McAfee. That was phenomenal.
Well, he is one of he was a former great punter, right? At one point.
For the Indianapolis Colts, and listening to his podcast and listen to his him telling about the story of how he had to get Jim Irsay to fly him out to Buffalo and then fly him out for College Game Day is actually pretty interesting. But there's other things that they could have done, and there's a lot of other things that they could have done. I think it's silly that I think they're in the UK right now. Mm-hmm. They came back to the US for like one show and then flew out back to the UK. Why not just go from Saudi Arabia to the UK?
That would be the smart thing to do, but I think they have a thing where they can only have so many tape shows a year, maybe 1 or 2. But even then, they could have still tried to go semi-live in the UK, just had it late at night, but also how many people would be there, if you look at it from that standpoint. Or if they're going to fly, if there's going to be certain people that are going to fly back to the United States on the WWE jet, why not just take like 12 guys, we'll say, 12 guys, fly them back, and then fly them back on the WWE jet. That's what they could have done. And then everyone could have stayed over there and had then you could have still had this SmackDown versus NXT to build up to Survivor Series. That would have been the smart thing to do. But, whatever. What do I know?
It's like 16 hours to get to to go from Saudi Arabia to Buffalo. It's ridiculous. And I want to say it's like, 3,000 miles, 4,000 miles, something like that. It's insane. And to Doug's point, I feel like somebody just didn't own a globe, or just thought that maybe it was like Saudi Arabia, New York is my guess. I don't know, but either way, I just don't get it, because it makes sense. Like going from wherever they were prior, it was maybe in somewhere in New York to Saudi Arabia to, the UK, and doing the, a quick week over there, 2 weeks over there, and then heading back to Buffalo. Okay, that makes sense. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean that's a very good point, Doug. And I think that whoever did that is an idiot and probably should be fired.
Yeah.
Except it's for Vince came up with it. He's like, no, it's Saudi Arabia. Yeah, there's one in near us in Connecticut. But yeah, so anyway, so I think the one thing that was really interesting that happened though was that the Fiend defeated Seth Rollins. Now the fans have been wanting this for a long time, and I haven't, but some fans have wanted this. I'm surprised that they did the title change over there, but of course the Saudi money is going to make people do crazy stuff. But yeah, it happened. The Fiend is now your new WWE Universal Champion, so that's a thing. I don't know where they go here from this still, but what do I know? I'm just a mild-mannered, person. Aaron, your thoughts on the Fiend defeating Seth Rollins?
Well, Roger has allocated his time to me to kind of rant just very briefly, but I hate finisher spam, and I cannot stress this enough. But when you have somebody who has to deliver 20 finishers to the person and they can just pop right back up and then do like one and you're done, it makes it feel like nobody is going to be able to defeat this person. And I like Bray Wyatt. I think that he is fantastic. I think that he was underutilized or misused before, victim of bad booking. I think right now they're kind of getting it right in some of the booking. But the Hell in a Cell match was dumb. I think that this match was also dumb. I think it was really funny that they had to point out this match can't stop for any reason. There's going to be something's going to happen here. And everybody had expected Seth Rollins to retain because, you're not going to have two titles on one brand, but obviously they rectified that. And, having the Fiend win in the way that he did, I was expecting Rollins to get some sort of babyface, special way of getting a win, like he did to Eric Rowan, where he put the forklift on top of him, that we've seen before, so that way he could, be down for the 3 count. I expected something like that. I expected, him to be electrocuted and then he won because of ref stoppage, something stupid like that. But no, they had the Fiend win. And I mean, rightfully so, but who's going to defeat him? That's my thought. Even if he holds the title for a year, who's going to be the person that's able to defeat him and have it be believable? Because you've now made him seem like the biggest monster in the entire world, where nobody, like Hulk Hogan in his prime, Goldberg on his undefeated streak, is not going to be able to defeat the Fiend based on the way that they're showcasing him right now.
Yeah, but I think they're going to do something where someone's going to say, no, I don't think you should come out as the Fiend. You're going to come out as Bray Wyatt. You can't win. You can't defend your title unless you're Bray Wyatt or whatever. And I think that's how it's really going to happen. Because, continuity, right? But yeah, this is a weird thing. Finisher spam. I want to talk about that. I look at someone like Cash Zono, also known as Chris Hero. He has a move that when he delivers it, if he delivers it twice, I think only one person kicked out of it for the second time, but the third time he nailed it. Yeah, he did not get up. Seth Rollins, how many finishers did he give him? Like that's annoying. I was already ticked off with what didn't give him what he gave him the curb stop like multiple times. Gave him, that I don't get that. Like, please, someone.
Yeah, the pedigree,
pedigree. Thank you.
Yeah. Doug, I know for you, we think about NJPW, right? And two of the people I can think about, we have Omega and I can't think of his name right now, but the Rainmaker, Okada. Yeah, thank you. we have Omega and Okada, right? And I know that you can, attest to this quite a bit, but they hit their move and it's a big moment in the match. It's not just they hit the move.
It's a big moment, but at the same time, I will say in NJPW, they usually don't finish on just one. You usually have to hit a couple more Rainmakers. And I know with Omega, he does the V trigger several times, but he also has a move. Oh, at least Omega did the One Wing Angel. That one he usually only did one time. And either nobody kicked out or you had a foot under the ropes kind of deal or something along those lines to prolong the match. But as for the V trigger, the Rainmaker, the Rainmaker does it several times. But the storyline during the match usually makes a lot more sense. He hits one Rainmaker and he doesn't go and hit two more right in a row and still a kick out. it's one, and usually he's fallen down and he's tired from the match, and then gets up, and then they continue wrestling. He might not even go for the pin. But with this one, with Rollins and The Fiend, it was curb stomp, curb stomp, curb stomp, curb stomp, pedigree, curb stomp, pedigree, curb stomp, and kicking out at one. It makes no sense to me and is absolutely horrible because, like Aaron said, what is it going to take now for The Fiend to be defeated? And let's even say, with Andy's idea of, they defeat Bray Wyatt to get the title off of him, that's fine. But then every time The Fiend comes out, is The Fiend going to be undefeated then?
No, they could possibly do some type of thing where, because I assume they're trying to make The Fiend like The Undertaker, where he's like an undead person, which I don't agree with by any means, but this is a thing that they're going to have to address eventually. It's not something they can just not address. He's eventually something's gonna happen, but that's just it's WWE booking what it boils down to. So now one thing that I'm still kind of puzzled by is that why would you then give The Fiend the title, which Fox wants him, so he's going to be on Fox, and then Lesnar beats Cain Velasquez, right? And he beats him real quick because he's having knee problems, so he has to get surgery. But he beats him pretty fast. And then we're like, you know what, Raw, now we're going to take the WWE Championship and we're going to move it back to Raw. What was the point? Because didn't Fox want Brock Lesnar? And then now it's like, okay, he's done his thing, so we're just going to move into Raw so we don't have to pay him as much because now it's not a per deal or whatever. He gets paid I'm assuming he gets paid around like $250,000 every time he shows up. So now he's just not going to show up on Raw except maybe once a month, and if that. So I think that's not a good thing for us fans, but I haven't been watching Raw that much. So, but yeah, so he's now on Raw. Doug, do you think it was smart for him going Raw?
I'm excited for him to go to Raw, mostly because I like SmackDown better. If I'm going to have to watch one of the two, I'd rather watch SmackDown. And not having the title on the show that I want to watch is a little boring for me every once in a while, or it's become boring because, and I absolutely love Lesnar by every means. I can't wait to go to Survivor Series. I really want to have a sign that says Lesnar throw Ray here with a big giant target, because I'll be sitting on the floor about 4 or 5 rows back. I want to catch Rey Mysterio and take him home as a souvenir.
Now, isn't that in the rule somewhere where if a wrestler gets thrown and it hits a bullseye, or if they lawn dart anyone into the crowd, don't you get to keep them? I mean, if I
catch him, clean catch. I want a clean catch. I'll give it that. If I drop Ray, then it's open game for anybody, and he might get away. But if I have a clean catch on Ray, I think I get to take him home. I'm pretty sure that's how the rules work. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but usually every other sporting event that I go to, if a part of the wardrobe or whatever goes into the field, or a ball goes into the field, you get to keep it. So I'm going to get to keep Rey Mysterio. I think it'll be fun. I can negotiate a release fee, but we'll see how it goes.
Now, are you going to keep his son Dominic too if he gets thrown, or just Rey?
I don't know if I can catch Dominic. He's a little bit bigger. I'm more than willing to try.
That's got to be kind of funny to, be the father.
We all know that it's actually not Ray's son.
Oh, that's right.
It's
I think
Eddie's.
It's Eddie's. Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Yep. Love you, Eddie.
Actually, you know what? It's been how long, Eddie? How many years now?
It'll be here shortly. It'll be the 14th anniversary. Actually, by the time you're listening to it, yesterday would have been the 14th anniversary of when Eddie Guerrero was found deceased.
When he passed away. Yeah.
So
yeah.
R.I.P.
So yeah, as far as like Lesnar going to leaving SmackDown for Raw, one, I think it's kind of stupid. I know they tried to explain it in continuity of, oh well, he's allowed to do it because he's got it in his contract, but couldn't anybody then be like, hey, I want to leave SmackDown for Raw or Raw for SmackDown? Couldn't anybody just do that then? But apparently Lesnar has something special in his
He has the "you can't fire me" contract.
Yeah. So stupid.
So I can't wait till they have a WrestleMania contract match where he can be fired if he loses.
Yeah.
Or he can't show hop.
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of dumb, and I understand. Paul Heyman wants to have Lesnar there, and it makes sense because Paul Heyman shouldn't be appearing on both shows. I mean, if he's running Raw, he shouldn't be going to SmackDown. Vice versa. So that makes sense. That part makes sense. But it still is just like it just feels. I don't want to say short-sighted, but it just kind of feels a little.
It feels like WWE creative doesn't know what they're doing from week to week and just making as they go. Sorry, Andy.
It does, yes, for sure. It really does feel like they are making it up as they go. And that's the problem I think I have with watching Raw and SmackDown. And I was saying to Roger, and actually in our chat, I was saying like it's become such a chore and it's not enjoyable at all, which is unfortunate because, and I'm not saying look, it hasn't been the greatest in a long time, but there has been a lot of, I feel like recently, I think it's gone downhill quite a bit. I think the ratings reflect that as well for some of the stuff. There has been some bright spots, but I think that there's been a lot of blemishes. And especially when you have AEW versus NXT going on right now, that is the highlight. Wednesday nights have become, the kind of the destination now for wrestling. And that's been something that I've really appreciated quite a bit. So anyway, went off on a little bit of a tangent. Doug, let me ask you, New Day, I think it was 7-time now, tag team champions. They deserve it, you think? Do you think this is a good path for Kofi to go to, or what are your thoughts?
It's a nice consolation prize for him, I bet. I mean, you have to give up the title in, under 7 seconds? All right, we need to do something for him. I'll give him the tag team titles. It's nothing bad. It absolutely is nothing bad. The New Day is tag teams. I mean, you want to rejuvenate a tag team division that has become kind of stale. They are one of the most exciting tag teams in WWE right now. So giving them the titles is definitely not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. It's like, okay, Kofi, we're going to take the title off you, give it to Brock. He's going to leave and go to Raw. So tell you what, here's what the plan is. And I think just screws it all up, but whatever. I think it was a mistake. I don't want to say it's a mistake giving him the title again, but with Xavier Woods having an Achilles, a complete tear, if I'm correct, which I've hurt my Achilles before, and it was painful. And they said the worst pain you could ever have is in your Achilles tendon. I can only imagine what he's going through. But he could also, if he could be on the outside, once he's able to do so, but he can't wrestle. He can't take bumps. He's kind of just a spectator with the team. So it has helped them out. But I think it actually hurts the Revival now because I think they looked good with the belts, but now they don't. So what do you do next?
Well, there's been a lot of back and forth too. I feel, especially with like the Revival or even, New Day having the titles, and it just kind of feels a little bit like it's kind of ping ponging. It's like, oh, okay, I guess they're the champions again now. And when they were holding the title for 400 plus days that they held it for, that was actually exciting because you're like, oh, are they going to make it a year? And then they made it a year, and then it's like, oh, how far are they going to go now? And of course they broke the record. And then it was like, well, when are they going to lose it now? Like they've held the title for so long. They broke the record. When are they finally going to, lose them? And they did, I think it was to Cesaro and Sheamus, I want to say. And then, they had a little bit back and forth, but until you have like those longer streaks, I think then it becomes more important, and then becomes a little like, oh, who's going to actually take it off of them? What team is going to challenge for it? And because they haven't really built up any teams, which is unfortunate because the Revival, of course, down in NXT was really great. But on the main roster, I mean, the most exciting thing they did was with Randy Orton, and they decided to split them up, right away. So
you mean it wasn't when they were shaving each other's backs?
That I actually really appreciated because I myself have needed a back shave for a while. And, Andy, unfortunately, has not been, a very kind brother. And he hasn't been a good brother, you could say. So, I don't know. I mean, that segment really spoke to me quite a bit. Or the icy hot, the jock strap, whatever it was that they were doing. That stuff was really, that was fantastic.
That really showcased him.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I really want people to know. I watch wrestling. I want them to see those segments to know why I watch professional wrestling, or those segments right there.
Well, Fox wouldn't put up with that. Oh, wait, they probably would. But yeah, interesting to say the least with those tag belts. The other thing, other than that, anything good with WWE? Can you guys think of anything that's like a saving grace that is good? I still think 205 Live is good, but I know that's, its days are numbered. And I think NXT surprisingly has done decent in the ratings. They slowly go up every week, opposed to AEW, who lost a lot of theirs at first and then have slowly gone down, which I don't know what the reasoning behind that is. But I guess that's something else we could talk about at a different time.
Well, Doug, what has been your favorite thing on Raw or SmackDown? Other than the NXT, you take NXT stuff out of there. Just Raw or SmackDown. What's been your favorite thing over the last 4 weeks or so?
I really appreciate that it's on Friday on my day off, so I can actually watch wrestling without, interruptions. But other than that, I really don't. I've not made it a point to make sure I'm home to watch wrestling. I'm usually out and about. I usually go to a dinner and a movie or have other plans in place. So it's a nice side option in case my plans fall through.
Which is not something you really want to say, especially with WWE going to Fox. But I want to say one thing with them going to Fox. I'm actually happy about that. I'm able to get it over an antenna, and I actually get both. I get the Quad City and Peoria station as well. So I get channel 18 and 43, which is kind of cool because 43, Doug, has a better feed for some reason, or just looks way better than channel 18 and the same signal strength. But so you do get that, and plus, if you don't have cable, it's perfect for a cord cutter because, hey, they can get it that way, or they can just wait for the different version that they put on Hulu the following day, the condensed version. But yeah, that's my the one thing I'm really excited about is that we are able to get it through antenna. Overall, but the shows have hurt, but SmackDown I think turned a huge corner when they brought NXT over, and I think the best thing that could have happened for the wrestlers is for them to get stuck over there. So, which is kind of a horrible thing to say, but anyway, so that's WWE for the moment. All right, so let's talk AEW Full Gear. Paige defeated Pac. Aaron, are you still a hater on Paige or what?
I was never a hater. I just thought that he didn't need to be in their world title picture. But I will say, seeing how he interacts with the crowd, seeing how he connects with them, I definitely see why they would like him to be in that picture. And I think that, his match with Pac was really good. I was impressed by his ability. He's been impressed me quite a bit in everything that he has been doing. I thought this was a really great match. This is the type of match. It was interesting. I know Doug had talked about kind of the placement. I would have expected this to be a little bit later in the card, but it was still a really good match. And kudos to both people for what they had done, because it really excited the crowd. And I think that this is the type of match that you will see both of them go with different dance partners at their next pay-per-view.
It was a nice win for Paige. He exited. He really did need a good, solid win and get it on a pay-per-view. The crowd definitely was behind him, yelling a whole bunch of cowboy. Sorry, Andy.
Cowboy stuff?
Yeah, cowboy stuff. And it was a very interesting match. I think they could have done a little bit better, but overall, top quality match, and it was fine for where it was on the show. But I was just surprised that this was the second one, and I thought you'd throw in another match in between just because the crowd was hot for both the first and the second match, and I didn't know if that would wear them out for the rest of the pay-per-view.
Yeah, the placement caught me as a bit odd too. This kind of felt like Jericho Owens at 33 when it seemed like it was too early on the card. I'm glad Paige got the win. I kind of agree with Aaron in the sense that he doesn't strike me, Hangman, as a current star, but I do think that he could be a star down the road. So I have no problem with him picking up a win. Pac has been built kind of like a monster. I think they're having their rubber match on Wednesday, so I don't have any issues with this match or this the result of this one. I think it was fine. A little bit earlier than I would have liked, but I don't think it was a bad move.
Now, Roger, what did you think about Jericho defeating Cody? But did he really defeat Cody? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it was telegraphed pretty obviously the moment he announced the stipulation. When he delivered that very heartfelt promo, that was the moment I said, this is when the turn's coming. And we had talked about this before, right? We know that MJF works best as a heel. He isn't a face by nature. This was the right time to do it. I'm glad that he did it in a smart way, that he got rid of potential challenger, because now when he's a champion, Cody can't theoretically challenge him. And I'm sure obviously at some point Cody will come back, but if he does, he's gonna have to like put his career on the line. It'll have to be a big emotional moment. Probably the only thing that I didn't like is I think that if you're gonna have the turn here and you've cost him his shot, I would have had MJF do a real beatdown on this one, like literally hammer him and force security to pull them off of him, kind of showing how savage he is. But that's also not really ever been MJF's character, so not a big deal. I think the win was correct. It makes Jericho look like an even bigger douche, but that's exactly what Jericho's character is.
The only thing that didn't make sense to me in this one was the fact that I'm trying to remember his name. The guy in Jericho's corner.
Hager?
Jake Hagar?
Jake Hagar, yeah. All these new wrestlers that I've never seen before is just it's amazing. I mean, we're gonna have a hard time picking a wrestler of the year, newcomer of the year. But when he threw MJF into the the side rail and everything like that, I was like, okay, so to me that meant that he wasn't going to turn, at least at this point. But throwing in the towel, that was fine. Really thought that Cody was going to win this one just to also keep the title off of Jericho when he goes back to New Japan Wrestling for Wrestle Kingdom, but it was a good match. It was exciting. It definitely gives a storyline ways to go and places to do things with. So great match.
I thought they could have gone in a lot of different ways here. And so, they went the way that probably, I don't want to say it was the most predictable, but kind of was, one that a lot of people had speculated that they were going to go. The match itself, though, was really good. And I think, in contrast to what we had talked about earlier with Seth Rollins versus The Fiend, this is one where, hey, it, essentially took, Jericho, put him in the walls or, the lion tamer or whatever you want to call it, and putting the knee down for it to end in the way that it did. And I thought it was a great match. I mean, this was, I don't know if it was match of the night, but if not, it was, one or two.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have a either way. I just like I think this whole match was set up so MJF could turn heel. I think that was the big thing. I think at one point they thought maybe face would work for him, but then they realized real quick, no, we'll do this. We'll throw the stipulation in right before the show. Then we know that, he can turn heel and he can go and feud with Cody for a little bit, and Jericho can move on to someone else. The next one that I was kind of watching, this was weird to me, but Mox versus Omega that one was a weird match. It just seemed like they tried to do too much with not a lot of time, because when you went through that there was the spot where they went through the razor wire, that should have ended the match, and it still continued after there. I thought that actually hurt the gimmick of that. They should have done something else with it. Aaron, I'm curious on your thoughts on that, because I know you like not Omega, I said Umaga almost, but Omega. I know you're a big fan of him. Do you think that this was the right thing to do? Just continue to have him lose over and over again, and just your thoughts on the match itself and certain spots they had in there.
So I like both of them. I think that Mox and Omega are really great. The pairing of them was really smart. This was going to be at All Out, but unfortunately they had to push it back. And I mean, it was a brutal affair. It was a, hey, we're going to tear the ring up. We're going to use hardcore stuff. This is going to be a bloodbath. I mean, that's what it was, right? I mean, that's what they were going for. And when they tore the ring apart and they were, taking the foam off, which, isn't that much padding, and doing the stuff that they had done, it was wow, like this is kind of crazy. Now they were trying to do a difference between a unsanctioned versus a sanctioned match, which is kind of neat. I like that idea of, hey, this is going to count against a win-loss record. So that made it a little bit different in terms of, what the match is supposed to be. It was the last match, but it wasn't technically the main event since it was unsanctioned. I thought that was kind of neat. I think that Moxley, he has money written all over him. I think Omega does too. And so to have these two as your main attraction, I think is a smart idea. And I don't know what they're going to do for the next pay-per-view. I believe technically Jericho's Cruise is the next one. So I'm not sure exactly if they're going to have Moxley go after Jericho or, where they're going to split him off. But I wouldn't do a whole lot of rematches with them. I would have them go apart and come back maybe in a year, 6 months, come back together and have a match then. That's what I would do with these two.
This match was hard to watch for me, just because I like both wrestlers so much, and to see them put themselves through what they did, and kept taking it up one more level, and one more level, just absolutely brutal. And I think you could even see that in the fans' eyes too. That did they take it too far is the biggest question I had coming out of this match, but it definitely ended the feud in my book, and it'll be interesting to see where they go from there and how Omega takes the loss and tries to bounce back.
The loss that never happened.
Yeah,
and maybe I'm in the minority. I did not enjoy this. I didn't enjoy this for many reasons. If you're going to do this kind of match, there should be a build to it that makes it like a blood feud. Gargano Ciampa, right? They had crossed the line. Ciampa had taken him out. He had just come back from injury. There was a point to it. So you understood why these two guys were trying to destroy each other. Gargano's career was on the line. Even if you look at, Undertaker versus Mankind, if you're going to go back in the day, those two had a legendary feud. Omega and Moxley don't have any history. Literally nothing was on the line, not even a win. So they basically just tried to kill each other for nothing more than our amusement. Look, I can suspend disbelief for a lot of things. I don't have a problem with that. But this, to me, it was hard to watch. I couldn't enjoy it. Ultimately, neither one of them gains anything from it. I just don't think this is the right time to do it. I know AEW is very early and they're trying to be an attraction. I just don't think there's any value in this. I think this is the exact opposite thing that I would have moved Moxley away from. I didn't like it. I just really didn't. I didn't think it was good. I think it wasn't as good as Jericho Cody in the sense of that's the kind of match that I think AEW should be trying to build to. This came off more to me like trash hardcore wrestling. Not that the wrestlers are trash, not that it was a bad match, but ultimately it was pointless, and I just don't care, and I'd be happy if they don't do this again for a very long time. I didn't see the point to this. I didn't see the point to making it unsanctioned. I would have much preferred a standard one-on-one match.
All right. So what do you guys think of AEW Full Gear as a whole? Like, Aaron, what were your thoughts on it?
I thought it was good. The matches I was most interested in going were the three big ones, Mox Omega, Jericho Cody, and then Page and Pac. The tag match I thought could be kind of fun. The triple threat could be kind of fun too. But their women's division, I know we had talked about, and I'll let somebody else kind of go over it in more detail. But I had no interest at all in the women. There was nothing I felt that was kind of worthwhile in there. Undercard, Shawn Spears and Joey Janela was like, what? Like, huh? And Joey Janela is like, no offense, I think that he is okay, but like he is a curtain jerker. He is a jobber. That is who he is. Shawn Spears is somebody who AEW is their mid-card guy. And that's like their only mid-card guy, it feels like. So overall, though, I think this might have been the best AEW pay-per-view I've seen. So like, I'd give it a B.
And Doug, what are your thoughts? Because I know you're a big fan of NJPW, and a lot of those guys are in AEW. What are your thoughts on the pay-per-view?
I thought overall it was a good pay-per-view. I think a B is a good rating for it. I don't think it is their best pay-per-view yet, but definitely an entertaining one. Definitely a pay-per-view quality for AEW at this point. Some big names going at it, and since they're only going to be doing about 4 pay-per-views a year, this one was decent. It's never going to be. I don't think it should be a quality top 4, but All Out I thought was a lot better. All In was a lot better, but definitely better than Fyter Fest and I can't remember the other one that they had.
Fight for the Fallen. It was definitely better than those two, but a solid B. Is what I would go with it.
Solid, but not spectacular. I don't think it was a bad pay-per-view by any means. I think you had a really good story with Cody and Jericho and the heel turn. Just kind of like what Aaron said, their women's division sucks right now. I don't think Riho is the person. Is that how you pronounce her name? I don't think that's the person you build around. Britt Baker is still young, but maybe she was the person, or maybe Awesome Khan or somebody else. They need to buff up that division. I think their tag division's really good. They need a mid-card title because right now, what's Pac's motivation? Paige already lost the championship, Spears, Darby Allin, all those guys, right? You need some sort of United States television, intercontinental, something for those guys to go after who, Darby Allin isn't going to be winning the heavyweight championship. Like, it was fun to watch him fight Jericho, but let's be realistic here. So it's not bad. I think it's the beginning of something. You can't judge it as if it's like a company that's 4 to 5 years in. This is their second pay-per-view, essentially under the AEW banner. So I have no problem with it.
All right, so let's talk about NXT. NXT is going to have their first ever women's war game match. I'm excited. Roger, what do you think about this?
Very excited. I'm very happy. I think this is the right move. They've got a really good division right now. Probably my only gripe is the absence of Toni Storm. I would really love to see her show up on Rhea's team, just because I thought that would have been a fun callback to their feud, and I think she's very talented. I would have put her in as that 4th spot. But other than that, I think it's really good. They did a great job of not putting in Shayna's awful horsewomen partners. They can't wrestle. I didn't want to see them in the match. Bianca and Io are significantly better choices to be in that match than Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke. Like, they're just not good. So I think this is the right choice. I'm be curious to see who. I think there's one more pick to be revealed still, but I'm fine with it. I'm fine with what they did.
It'll be interesting to see, and I think, like Roger said, this is a deep division in NXT for their women, and a great way to get all of them on the pay-per-view to showcase their talents. I'm excited for it and can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's going to be kind of cool that we're going to be able to see not only a men's one, but we're also going to be able to see a women's one too. And I think that, it could be really cool. And to Roger's point, the 4 horsewomen, or the 2, the 3, whatever you want to call them, it's smart to keep them off there. I mean, this is a way you could have protected them, but, unnecessarily so, because they could very seriously injure somebody because they are, I don't want to say unsafe, but they're just not well trained.
All right, so the Undisputed Era is going to be taking on Ciampa, Riddle, Keith Lee, and an unnamed person to be named later. Now, that's going to be interesting because we now know it's not going to be Gargano, which is kind of upsetting, but I'm interested who they're going to put in this position, but I think it's going to be someone that we haven't seen in a while, or maybe someone we never thought would team with these guys. So probably be someone like, I don't know, insert name here. But I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to flat out say it. I think it's going to be CM Punk, but that's my opinion. So that's going to happen. We're going to be there, of course. Aaron, what do you think is going to happen with this?
AJ Lee has a better chance of being in this match than CM Punk does.
We'll see. It's in Chicago, and if they brought him out,
war games. He's not going to do war games.
Yeah, but if he comes out, people are going to go. They're going to lose their stuff. Like, that's what's going to happen. Sorry, Andy.
Of course they will. Of course they will. But all right. So here's my thing. I think that Gargano probably will still be in this match. I mean, that'd be my guess. I imagine Gargano will still be. Unless they announce it, if they keep it a mystery, which they might. He might be the mystery, 4th person. I could see it being Gargano. Otherwise, they might kind of do a pullback. I mean, I could see them doing that and finding somebody that was in NXT for, a long time ago and having them come in. Honestly, like, I could see a Seth Rollins. I could see that being a surprise, like hey, we want to, it's the first ever NXT champion. So Seth Rollins is going to join us. I could see that, being a huge surprise for them. But I think that this is going to be really cool. I cannot wait to see this live. Seeing Undisputed Era with, draped in gold, taking on, 4 other people, and then potentially beating them. And then that can set up, the Royal Rumble pay-per-view that NXT is going to have, where like, hey, now we're going to take on the tag titles, with these people, Keith Lee and Matt Riddle would take on the tag titles, Ciampa versus Cole, and then somebody versus Strong. I'm not sure who, but, somebody could be there.
I'm excited for it. It'll be it's always interesting to see what NXT pulls out, especially for their takeovers. And it being War Games, this will be the first time I've ever seen War Games live. So to see 2 of them, very excited. Kind of curious, though, what else they're going to do for the rest of the takeover. If all your gold is in one match, what other matches are you going to have? But you know what? If it's only going to be 3 matches and it's the 2 War Games and Gargano versus Balor, I'm pretty good with that.
I would say, for one, I don't believe Gargano is going to be in this match, and I would argue that he shouldn't be in this match because we just saw him go 3 consecutive takeovers against Adam Cole. I don't need more Gargano versus the Undisputed Era. It's time to pull them apart. Gargano versus Balor is fun, it's fresh, it's new. It'd be really exciting to see that as a one-on-one match. Keep them separate of War Games. 2, to answer your question, the WWE UK title, this is a perfect time to have Walter defend here.
Yeah.
Because they need a championship anyway, so it's a good move. Let him get some more exposure. You can have him fight, pick him and Cesaro. Let them go for 20 minutes. It's not like anyone will be mad about that. The one thing that I think as far as the mystery partner is, I think the obvious choice if he's healthy is Velveteen Dream. I mean, he still is owed a rematch to the North American Championship. He makes sense to be on this team. He's a big name. I think it really works. He'll get a great pop when he returns because we haven't seen him since the attack. So I like that move. I'm a little curious about how 2 War Games is going to feel. I feel like War Games is one of those matches that's very special because we haven't seen a lot. But if you start doing 2 every year, I don't know if that's a good thing. To the point that I'm not even mad if they don't put Undisputed Era versus the 4 guys inside of War Games and they do a different type of match. I'd totally be fine with that. Do a Survivor Series style match. Like, there's nothing that says they can't just do a 4-on-4 elimination match. I'd totally be fine with that. But yeah, I'm very, very excited for NXT. Like, it's always still the show. Like, I can't go back and think of the last time that the main roster outshined NXT. And this is going to be another one where War Games is going to be unbelievably fun. It's going to have some sort of star-making performance. And, it is possible we see somebody return. Though, I would say this to Aaron's point about maybe it's a Seth Rollins. Jericho made a very good point about if you're just so focused on beating AEW that you decide to bring down a bunch of big names, you've stripped NXT of what made it special in the first place, which is that it's not just the third brand of WWE. It's not ECW from 2009. I don't want to see Roman Reigns here. I don't want to see Seth Rollins here. Like, they're not really part of NXT in the sense of that's not what we consider someone coming home. If this was Adrian Neville, if this is Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, Shinsuke Nakamura, that's fine. They came up with this current crop of NXT. But Seth Rollins and Daniel Bryan and all those guys who are great need to stay far, far away from this brand. Let this continue to be the organic, different type of show, and don't make this ECW Part 3. We don't need that, and I don't want that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see who that mystery person is because Velveteen Dream is actually that's a really good one too. That's what I'm excited about. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm also excited that we're going to be there. So hopefully I'm assuming there'll be 4 matches plus the 2 for the next. Oh, you know what? We may not get a dark show. Because
you always get dark matches.
Well, I mean, we might get one, but we won't get like the next NXT show because they haven't done that yet. Where they had a takeover like on a Saturday, and then since they've been live on USA, they haven't done something like that yet. So that'll be.
But I think they would still do dark matches even if they're not for the taping, just because they have a lot of talent. Guys like Killian Dane, the Forgotten Sons. They've got plenty of people who still need to wrestle.
Yeah, I think they'll do some with Forgotten Sons. It wouldn't surprise me if they had them come out. I
Pete
think
Dunne.
See, Pete Dunne is. I'm leaning for him to be the real mystery person, but I don't think that him and Strong did they finish their feud? Is it over with?
They weren't really feuding. Him and Damian finished their feud.
Okay, it just
and they're in the middle. They're 1 versus 1, so I wouldn't be surprised if we got a third match there.
okay. Well, I guess that's something we'll definitely wait and see. So let's thank our sponsor, HostGator. Are you a blogger or podcaster? Or are you just not happy with your web host? You need to check out HostGator.com. You're going to find web hosting made easy and affordable. HostGator offers unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, one-click stream results, or free stability hands on the best control panel out there. Stop by today and try a free demo to see it easiest. And if you use a special coupon code OFFTHEMARK, you're going to save 25% off your web hosting packages. So what do you got to lose? Check out HostGator.com and take a bite out of your web hosting costs. Also, make sure you check out Section 6's Off the Mark page. Click on the banner at the top to say big on items from WShop.com. All right, so Off the Mark, we are definitely going to be there live in Chicago, staying at Aaron's place in a funny named street, and we will be we're gonna be there
Eddie.
with so we will be there, which I'm pretty excited about. All 4 of us will be together. We'll have some other friends as well that are going to be joining us to watch NXT and Survivor Series. So it'll be really cool. We're going to do an after show for both Survivor Series and Takeover. Takeover, I'm looking forward to the most. That's going to be a really intense one. Don't be surprised if that show goes long, but Aaron, how pumped are you for the show?
I think that this is actually going to be really good. There is one little caveat to it, though, which is this. I like the idea of adding NXT to it. I don't like the idea of doing all of these, triple threat matches. That's the one thing I don't like, because it gets a little kind of long in the tooth. When you see, it's going to be, what is this? There's 5 triple threat matches currently announced right now, and that's a little long. Like, I think it would have been kind of cool. Like, yeah, you do one, like maybe the women's champions, right? Like maybe you do it for that one, but you don't do it for, Team Raw versus Team SmackDown versus Team NXT women's and men's. That's long. That's a little much for me. Or even the secondary title, AJ versus Shinsuke versus Roderick Strong. I think that's kind of neat, but at the same time, it's like, well, why not just do like AJ versus Strong or Shinsuke versus Strong? That'd be kind of interesting. That'd be kind of cool. And you could see either one winning, like, oh, they don't want to make the, main roster look weak, or they don't want to make the, NXT look weak. And then like the 5-on-5-on-5 Survivor Series matches, that's just a lot. That's an awful lot. I think, like, do women NXT versus SmackDown, and then Raw versus SmackDown for men or something like that. That's my only little thing. It's very minor. It's small. I'm looking forward to this, though. I think this is going to be good. This is going to be way better than last year. And especially with having NXT in there, it makes it like anything could happen.
I'm excited. Anytime we get to see NXT or even do a live show together, it's always better. So whatever we get to see, I'm sure it'll be great with the NXT. Throwing NXT into Survivor Series was one of my favorite moments in the aspect of, I think that made the show a lot better. It'll be interesting to see how they can compete after, doing a War Games match and everything like that. But it'll definitely make it a little bit fresher of a pay-per-view and really bring NXT into the limelight, I think.
War Games, I am unbelievably excited for. Like that is on the 10 of 10 scale as far as shows I'm looking forward to. War Games is one of those special matches that I kind of always liked as a kid. I thought it'd be really cool to see. So the fact that it's back and we're going to get there is going to be a special moment. I think TakeOver is going to be a fantastic show, because I always think TakeOver is going to be a fantastic show. And for the most part, they haven't disappointed me. There's probably been one TakeOver card that's ever disappointed me. So I'm very confident this will be good. I am concerned, however, about Survivor Series, and most of it is for the parts that Aaron said. Like, triple threat matches are unique, and I don't think you should have 5 of them. Like, that is overkill. I think 1 or 2 at most was enough. Do the women's, maybe do the tag. I think you could have stopped there. Also, I don't have any. Last year, right? SmackDown got swept. Is there anyone who would be surprised if NXT ate the pinfall in every single one of these?
That was going to be my question to
the
you.
Women's match, I would be a little surprised.
Sure, that would be maybe the only one, because Bayley would be lower on the pecking order. But I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if NXT got shut out, because they've been so dominant in the invasion and yada yada yada. I don't. This is too much. I think you should have just done Raw versus SmackDown. I don't think you needed to add NXT here yet. And if you did want to add NXT, just do it for some matches. If they're really the invading force, then let them just go on 1 or 2. But like a 5-on-5-on-5 Survivor Series match with 14 eliminations or 13 eliminations, that is going to go on forever. And we've got 2 of them. Plus, I mean, it's just Brock versus Rey Mysterio, to be quite honest. I'm sorry, that doesn't excite me anymore. In 2002, that would have been really fun to see. Right now, I'm not really all that excited about it. Just this card, I was actually more excited for the tag. And I like New Day, but the Revival in that spot is way better, in my opinion, than New Day. Like, I think Revival versus Undisputed Era versus Viking Raiders is super fun. Now it's just okay. Like, it's still going to be a solid match because New Day can go. But I think Survivor Series is going to be one of those shows where we just kind of shrug and be like, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't what we saw last night. Now, maybe they surprise us like we saw at the Rumble, but I think the Rumble itself has a built-in excitement that Survivor Series doesn't bring you.
Now, Andy, for you, to kind of Roger's point there, Viking Raiders and Undisputed Era have faced each other at NXT. For the tag team, do you think it would have been more exciting to see New Day versus Viking Raiders or New Day versus Undisputed Era?
Oh, New Day versus Undisputed Era would have been really good. I think that's the match should have happened. Or you could have had someone like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good team. I think Ascension would have been interesting to see, not against New Day, but like Ascension, like if you had two NXT staples, like if you had War Raiders versus Ascension, and it was done like in the NXT style, I think that could be very entertaining. But it's still going to be WWE stuff, so of course that's not going to be that interesting. Have they announced anything if Gargano's facing anyone at Survivor Series? Because I think he would be an interesting person to put on there. I think if you had him like versus Daniel Bryan or something like that, I think that would be really good. I mean, we saw Daniel Bryan versus Adam Cole already, so I would really like to see something along those lines. But that, anyways, I'm just more excited about going and seeing War Games, because that would be. I only have a couple more to knock off the list of matches, so that's definitely one I'm excited about.
Daniel Bryan might be interjecting himself in the triple threat for the mid-card titles, because right now AJ, Shinsuke, and Roddy are all heels. So there's a rumor that Bryan may beat Nakamura to bring a face into that match.
Ooh, that would be.
I thought Daniel Bryan was taking on the Fiend.
Is he?
They could do that, yeah, because otherwise we're going to have Shinsuke versus Strong Styles.
Oh, jeez. You've been waiting for that, right? You wrote that down like 6 months ago, or like if this ever comes up.
That's not an original by me, but
I've never been so disappointed in my life at a pun that I did not see coming. Like I literally dropped my phone and I'm just sitting here looking like I have an existential crisis. Close the show, Andy. We're done. Like there's nothing else that needs to be said.
All right, but yeah, so we'll have an after show from Takeover and one from Survivor Series. So that's all the time we have for this month's show. If you're into the Twitter, you follow the show at OffTheMark86. I want to thank 86 Productions for hosting and editing the podcast, and I want to thank all of our listeners for taking the time to download and listen to the show. And for Roger Cave, Doug Hunt, and Aaron Hughes, I'm Andrew Hughes, and until next time, we'll see you in the ring.